So here we are, September 9th, 2018, finally making this video. Today we're going to be analyzing the Wyoming Senate race in the year 2018 and looking at what I personally believe will be the outcome of this race in the end in November in 2018. So right now we have two candidates, John Barrasso, the Republican incumbent senator, and then Gary Trotter, who ran for a couple of races statewide but failed to secure any and is now running for the United States Senate race here. So let's go ahead and take a look back at 2012, the last time there was a Senate election for this seat, of course with the same incumbent. Right here, John Barrasso won with 75.9% of the vote. He defeated Tim Chestnut, who actually had Chestnut as his profile picture for a while on Wikipedia before anyone caught it. And now we actually have a pretty notable figure, but probably someone who isn't going to have the best chance at winning. Let's go ahead and take a look right back at the last time a Democrat won statewide in the state of Wyoming in pretty much a governor election, House election, or Senate election, and that was the year 2006. So this was a time where the Democrat was pretty popular. He won the election back in 2012 by a narrow margin, won by less than 3%, so nothing too safe for the Democrats here. Very popular, and pretty popular enough, just the same as Phil Bredesen was. If you remember him, he's running for the 2018 Senate race in the state of Tennessee. He was reelected in 2006 as well in a Democratic wave year in his home state of Tennessee, winning every single county. That's the same thing Dave Freudenthal, I believe that's how you say it, the former incumbent governor of Wyoming. He ran for the he ran as a Democrat in the state of Wyoming, and as crazy as it sounds, he won with 70% of the vote. Okay, we can go ahead and take a look back at 2006, the last time, not really the last time, a time before when we had a Republican on the ballot. 70% of the vote. 70% of the vote. 29.9% for the Democrat there, 30% for the Republican there. So pretty much, these were both on the same ballot, all one ballot, but the Republican won with the same exact margin as the Democrat. If you look at the vote total, it's off by pretty much a couple hundred votes out of hundreds of thousands. Okay, so sorry, out of tens of thousands, I guess, because it is right over 100,000 votes, but still, that is something to note as well. However, we go up to 2018, which we're looking at right now. This is not going to be a year a Democrat is going to win in Wyoming, to be very frank about it. This is the last time a Democrat won in the state of Wyoming, and also, he led someone else very close to victory. And who may that be, you might ask? Well, that is Gary Trotter. He is the one running for the 2018 Senate race. He's right over here. I don't know why they use that picture for him, but he got 47.8% of the vote in the congressional election in the state of Wyoming. This race is rated as likely and leaning Republican. There is an incumbent. Keep that in mind. Usually in open races, they typically get close. Gary Trotter was able to get 47.8% of the vote as a Democrat in Wyoming in a congressional race, which has national implications, unlike a governor race. And also, the incumbent didn't win 53%, got 48.33% of the vote. Okay, as an incumbent Republican from the state of Wyoming, when someone else has a Republican on the ballot, you got 70% of the vote. It's something to note. Gary Trotter did something different. It was a Democratic wave year, just as the circumstances are now. The Democrats are actually lower than they are now in terms of the generic ballot, and these were pretty astonishing numbers. Most people expected this to be likely, sometimes safe. But one characterization did have it in the leaning Republican column, but still, it's Wyoming. Why would it ever go Democratic? And really, the argument that Gary Trotter could somehow do this in a Senate election really doesn't make sense at this point in time. There's a lot that's happened in the past 12 years. We've got a lot more divided. Having a Democrat, even if they are pretty popular from a state like Wyoming, it's only possible in Tennessee because that Democrat won a previous statewide election. This is not like the former governor is running for the Senate race now. This is someone who was led almost to victory by the former governor. It would have a much different effect if he actually was elected to the United States House of Representatives, and he actually could become competitive in this race if he was previously elected. However, just seeing that Republican name by the name pretty much doesn't show any good news for the Democrat here. Looking at the predictions, solid. Safe. Likely by Fox News, but that's because that's their highest characterization. As for the endorsements, Donald Trump endorsed him, but he really doesn't need it. As for Gary Trotter, again, nothing real here, and Citizens United, which actually is something that Gary Trotter wants to focus on. But in terms of primary turnout, not much there. We have 118,000 on the Republican side, as expected, 19,000 on the Democratic side. If we go back to the governor election in 2006, it was a little bit better for Democrats. 69,000 votes for the Republicans, 29,000 votes for the Democrats. So obviously a little bit more Republican voters, which is not good news for the Democrats. In fact, less votes for the Democrats and more votes for the GOP. So right now, if we look at this, there wasn't much primary opposition. Sure, he's an incumbent, one with 62.9% of the vote, but not much to see there. Gary Trotter running unopposed, only garnering 90% of the vote isn't really something either, because obviously some people may not know him, may not want to vote for him in a primary, or just may want to write someone in either. But Gary Trotter probably isn't going to have a shot at this election. And I get it, it's a running joke, whatever. But in all seriousness, the Senate election is not going to the Democrats. I don't think anyone expected it to either, but still, Wyoming, as a state itself, I do think there is a possibility if this former governor, right here, let's go ahead and look at him right now. Let's see. Yeah, this is pretty much all his electoral history. His first election, second election, and then he pretty much has gone off into hiding. But let's say he did decide to run for a Senate election. I believe there could be one in 2020, maybe, or 2022. No, not the governor election. Whatever. We'll figure it out. Still, yeah, 2024, and then let's just see if there is one for 2020. But regardless, if he does decide to run, I think that he could have a shot at running. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because he's a former governor. He was pretty popular. Yes, times have changed, but winning with 70% of the vote is something to note as a Democrat in the state of Wyoming. Yes, he was popular. I don't know how well he could ride that popularity into a Senate election, but seeing someone like Phil Bredesen do it made a couple people question. I remember looking in the comment section, people saying that the Democratic governor should run for the Wyoming Senate election, but primaries are done. Nothing can be done for 2018. As for the future elections, that's all up to whatever happens. But still, at the end of the day, John Barrasso is easily going to win this Senate race purely on the fact that there are many partisan voters. I personally believe it was based off policy. I think John Barrasso would still win because it is a very conservative and Republican state that even without party ideology, just based off terms of, I guess, not party support, obviously, but political issues that were supported by certain political parties, that could be something that would lead a Republican without that title, just someone who holds conservative values, into a Senate election in the state of Wyoming. Just like Supreme Court elections, which are supposed to be quote-unquote nonpartisan, but still, we all know who's a Democrat and who's a Republican, and who's going to be left-leaning or right-leaning on the Supreme Court, not just the national Supreme Court, but, for example, the Wisconsin Supreme Court, where they do elect their justices. But overall, the Senate election going to the Republicans. Gary Trotter actually is a pretty good candidate, in my opinion. I think he's probably the best one they could have fielded besides the former governor from the state of Wyoming. His previous election history shows that he could possibly make races close, but this is a Senate election where if this one went blue, nobody's going to care about focusing on Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Michigan. If Republicans are losing in Wyoming, they're losing in a number of other states. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.